Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Matters of Faith, the radio show. Matters of Faith is a show Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Matters of Faith, the radio audience that will challenge, encourage, motivate, and inspire you to keep the faith. I am your host, the Reverend Dr. J. Lauren Russell, and it's my job to engage you in stimulating dialogue that's inspiring, encouraging, motivating, dialogue and conversations that will help you build your determination, your commitment, and your character. Conversations that will help you keep the faith. Everyone born of God overcomes the world. This is the victory that has overcome the world, even our faith. 1 John 5 and 4. And now, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, without further ado, it is time for Matters of Faith, the radio show. It's Monday, July 10th. It's 8 o'clock and it's time for Matters of Faith, the radio show. I am your host, the Reverend Dr. J. Lauren Russell, host and creator of this show. And tonight we're talking about the article and the topic, Me in My House. And my very special guest tonight, Reverend John Davis. Make sure that you telephone and tell a friend. Reverend John Davis, pastor of First Baptist Church in the village of Harlem, USA, is my special guest tonight. We're on Matters of Faith, as well as the J. Lauren Russell Facebook groups. Telephone, tell a friend. They don't want to miss this show tonight. Me and My House. Don't forget to support our advertisers and our sponsors, the JLR Company and J. Lauren Russell Consulting, LLC, for all of your church financial consulting needs. Check out our website, www.jlaurenrussellconsulting.com. That's www.jlaurenrussellconsulting.com. Or simply give us a call, 718-328-8096. 718-328-8096. If you want to train your trustees, if you want to develop your property, if you need a church loan, give us a call. We'll be there to help. Matters of Faith, the book, can be purchased at my Cash App, $Matters of Faith. The cost of the book is $22.80. That's $22.80. You can send your check or money order to the JLR Company, Post Office Box 301, New York, New York 10035. That's Post Office Box 301, New York, New York 10035. Get the book. It will absolutely bless your life. You can also get it as an ebook. All you need to do is go to www.smashwords.com/books/view/993177. That's www.smashwords.com/books/view/993177. The book has no shipping and handling if you get it as an ebook. And also check out the Eat Okra app for all black-owned restaurants all over the nation. That's right, Eat Okra. And finally, subscribe, like, and share our Matters of Faith YouTube channel. Make sure that you subscribe, like, and share our Matters of Faith YouTube channel. Let me add just one more thing. Get your subscription to Better Mag magazine today. A 2-year subscription is only $27.50. That's www.abettermag.com. www.abettermag.com. In just 2 days, 48 hours, I will be installed as the District Governor of District 7230 of Rotary International. I want you to, if you can, please make arrangements to join me. It's an historic event. I will be the first African American to take the role of District Governor in this district. So if you can make it out, please do, ma'am. Please do, sir. I would love for you to share with me in this really monumentous occasion. We'll be at the Split Rock Golf Course from 6 to 9 p.m. on Wednesday, July 12th. You can register by using the QR code on your screen or simply go to www.rotary7230.org. That's www.rotary7230.org. My motto for the year, not me, but we. I'll see you on Wednesday. And now the article, Me in My House. That article can be found in my column, Matters of Faith, at the Bronx Chronicle, www.thebronxchronicle.com, the Yonkers Insider, www.yonkersinsider.blogspot.com, Better Mag Magazine, Black Westchester Magazine, and Pamela's Big Heart newsletter. me and my house. Joshua 24 verses 14 and 15 from the New King James Version. Now therefore fear the Lord, serve him in sincerity and in truth, and put away the gods which your fathers served on the other side of the river and in Egypt. Serve the Lord. And if it seems evil to you to serve the Lord, choose for yourselves this day whom you will serve, whether the gods which your fathers served that were on the other side of the river, or the God of the Amorites, in whose land you dwell. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Me and my house. There is nothing like family. You don't have the luxury of choosing or selecting them. Families are God-given, even for those who are adopted by families who are not biologically their own relatives. Families can be many things to many people, sometimes good and sometimes bad. I have seen families that are at each other's throats on a daily basis, and I have seen families that stick together no matter what. And thanks to modern technology, some families get to know their biological families after the deoxyribonucleic acid DNA test confirms it. But one way or another, there is nothing like family. In the text, Joshua is addressing the children of Israel. The Bible says that he gathered all the tribes of Israel, summoning the elders, leaders, judges, and officers. All of them were descendants of Abraham, who was the son of Terah, the man who dwelt in the land on the other side of the river. That's where the Lord took Abram from and led him through the land of Canaan and multiplied his family. It was a great family legacy, but there were skeletons in the closet. Joshua addresses the descendants, telling them their history, how they had been blessed with land and possessions that the Lord gave them. He told them how the Lord had given them victory after victory, conquest after conquest, miracle after miracle, living in a land that they never labored on nor built, and eating from vineyards that they did not plant. Now they were standing on the precipice of the promised land, and Joshua tells them to put away the gods that their fathers served on the other side of the river and those they served in Egypt. Joshua is, like they are, descendants of Abraham and Terah also. His past is the same as theirs. So he personalizes his admonition and says, if it seems evil to you to serve the Lord, choose for yourselves this day whom you will serve, whether the gods which your fathers served that were on the other side of the river, or the gods of the Amorites in whose land you dwell. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Terah and Abraham's family worshipped pagan gods on the other side of the river, and some worshipped them while they were in Egypt and in the land they now dwelt. Joshua reminds them that every family has skeletons. That's why each family, further, everyone individually, must decide for themselves who they are going to serve. I can't speak for my entire family, but personally, I echo Joshua saying, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Be blessed. And now my question. In what ways have you dishonored your ancestry by following gods of your own creation? Hey, let me ask that question again. In what ways have you dishonored your ancestry by following gods of your own creation? Reverend John Davis is and has been the pastor of First Baptist Church in the village of Harlem for the past 17 years. He is a bivocational pastor and also serves as a drug counselor for the past 19 years. His mission is to ensure every recipient gets into the right treatment program, and this fight includes a strong advocacy for those living with autism. There's more. He is very active and impactful, helping in the restoration of inmates and those who were formerly incarcerated. He feeds the community, gives away clothing, impacting the lives of many in the community, especially those who are homeless. John also serves as one of the human rights commissioners in Newburgh, New York, and Stop the Violence campaign. He's married to Deborah Davis for 34 years. He's not only encouraging family values in the community, but he lives it himself. He and Deborah have 5 children, 9 grandchildren, and 1 great-grandchild. Matters of Faith family, would you welcome with me tonight my friend, colleague, and associate, this dynamic man of God who not only talks it, but walks it, Reverend John Davis, pastor, First Baptist Church in the village of Harlem, USA. So, is that good? Did that capture it? Did that get it?
You did a marvelous job. You did a marvelous
Thank God for that. Thank God for that. And welcome to Matters of Faith, the family, man. Thank you for coming and joining and being a part of this great broadcast. And thank you for taking time out of your schedule to join me tonight.
Man, thank you for the invitation.
Man, it's my pleasure. So I have a question for you. I ask every one of my guests, the first question I ask come out of my mouth. I read the bio, they know a little bit about you, but tell us something about you that we don't know and we really should know.
Well, I wrote a book, From the Pit to the Pulpit. And I know about the streets because I was about the streets. And did time in prison, not jail, prison. And that's where I really met God. I heard of him, but I didn't know him.
Wow.
So he allowed me to come from that pit, not prison. Prison wasn't the pit. My mind in the streets was the pit. And didn't put me on a pulpit, but not a pulpit inside a building, but a pulpit in the world to help the world.
You know, that is a really interesting thing. I was having a conversation with my brother on yesterday. My brother spent a great deal of time in prison, not jail, in prison. And we were talking about it. I said, man, tell me what it was really like. Tell me the kind of life that takes place there when you're incarcerated. Because, you know, I tell people all the time, I say, it's a lifestyle that if you have not been there, you can't really understand it. And he said, that's true. He said, either you learn to adjust or it'll kill you. You'll lose your mind.
He told you an actual fact.
Yeah.
Just being around people you don't know. 24 hours, birthdays, years of birthdays go past. Stress is at an all-time high. And if you don't know, some people been abused there, mentally, physically. So it's a lot of things, but always what kept me thinking, when you first go in them doors, it said, don't let the time do you. You do the time. You
must have went to the same place my brother went to, because he told me the exact same word. Y'all must have been staying in the same room. That's exactly what he said to me.
That kept me
from, don't let your time do you.
You do the time.
That's amazing. I'm not going to ask you which facility, because then that'd be, but I can tell you his. It was Elmira.
I was in Elmira, Comstock, Attica. From there, I went to a meeting.
Wow. Wow. Wow, that's amazing. That is amazing. But you know, it's interesting. Some people take it and it transforms their life. Other people take it and they are transformed by it in a negative way. But it depends on who they are.
It depends on who they are and whether they're letting the time do them or they're really doing their time. See, I learned how to entertain myself playing chess, thinking games, reading a lot, studying a lot. I really, truth be told, everybody preached the gospel, but I wanted to see, was their God a real God? So I wanted to study the Bible to see if God was real. To the point where I read the whole Bible a couple of times. Put it down because I didn't understand it. But one night, it felt like somebody was trying to light my cell on fire. And I jumped up, looked around, grabbed a mirror, looked out the cell, couldn't see nobody on the galley. Then maybe about a couple of weeks, I opened the Bible up and caught a clear understanding of the Bible. That's when my understanding of the Word of God really came to me.
So you were reading the Bible like as an intellectual exercise.
Absolutely.
And then it became a spiritual reality.
Absolutely.
Scales fell off your eyes.
Fell right off my.
You understood Paul. And everybody else.
That's when I knew I was locked up, but not locked out.
I heard that. I like that. I like that. Locked up, but not locked out. Now, you and I met a while ago, and we kind of met. And I mean, we knew each other before that, but I say we met at a homegoing service.
Yes.
That we met there. I mean, that's where our spirits connected. And from that moment on, it's been a different kind of relationship between you and I. It's been genuine and real, because I think we saw each other as we really existed, rather than the way other people met, the way in which we might have thought we knew each other.
Yes. Absolutely.
And that was an amazing, I will never forget it. I will never forget it. The individual that was funeralized was someone who impacted the lives of a lot of people, because it was there that that the person's life showed up as it existed in the lives of others, and you were there to express that in a way that some people couldn't, and we connected.
You know, that's why I love when the word says, "Let the work I do speak for me." And even in a time of a transition, your work can still be working, because it was through that person that our spirits really connected, not just meeting, seeing each other in associations, seeing each other in the conferences, really connected.
Right. Like, yo, brother, what's up? And that's true. And that's amazing, because for both of us, that day stands out in our minds. And you know, we've never talked about that day being a day that really became the pivotal point in our relationship, to solidify who we were with each other. True brothers. And now one of your kids, man, one of your children was on my show just a week ago. One of your children.
Yeah, that's my son. And I love him dearly. I love him.
Yes, sir. And so the works that you do speak for you, because that is a way in which the word gets around, when the things that you do, people begin to emulate, talk about, and then imitate the things that you've done and the change that you caused for them in their life. And you did that. You did that. But I'm really impressed with all the other things that you do, you know, because I asked Brother John, y'all need to hear me now, Matters of Faith family. I asked John to give me his bio, as I do everybody, you know, and he sent me like a sentence, you know. It's like, yo, but I mean, you know, but what about the wife and kids, man? What about the things that you do? Because I always think that it's important, because people really don't know who they're talking to.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because they see you, they say something to you, they're engaged in conversation sometimes, but they really don't know the impact that a person is having in this world, that they need to know about, because you never know who you're standing with. The Bible says it, interestingly enough, in the book of Hebrews, be careful to entertain strangers.
Yes.
Because you might be entertaining an angel in disguise.
You know, I look at it like this. I always put the word of God into reality. And going to many homegoing services into the gravesite, it was something that really caught my attention. Everybody has a beginning date. Then we have that dash in the middle. And then we have the end date. Most of people I know messed up their beginning date. But it's what you do in that dash will speak for you on that end date. So I try to make the dash most important in my life. You know, because people don't remember the beginning. They remember what that dash is about.
That's right.
And I try to focus on that, because when I leave, I want people to speak of my work, not what I have done in the beginning. There's nothing to glorify in that life. But what it is you're able to see what the work I'm doing now in that dash moment. And as long as I got breath, I'm going to keep that dash moment and continue to press to where I'm called to go.
And you know, it's interesting. I'm glad that you mentioned the dash, because it's the only thing on that tombstone or on that plaque that's on the ground that you can definitively see where it begins and where it ends.
Absolutely.
You know, it's just a dash. But some people cram more into that dash than some people cram into it. They can do more in 5 or 6 years, and some people doing 50 or 60 years.
Absolutely.
I read I can't remember all of the details. It was a really interesting story about a woman who died. Hadn't done much in life. You know, she died an old maid, if you will. And so nobody really knew what to put on her tombstone. Remember when they used to write stuff on your tombstone?
Right.
Nobody could quite figure out. So they asked a local sports editor to write something. And he said, okay, you know, he wrote no hits, no errors, and never at plate, just a non-entity, you know what I'm saying? Had done nothing, didn't have any hits, no runs, no errors, and had none left on. Just went through life without making a difference anywhere. You know, this sports writer sort of captured her life to say that she really didn't participate in life at all. Lived and died. The dash, that's what it was.
The dash was obsolete, y'all.
That's what it was.
And see, if you really believe in God and serving God, you don't have to focus on the dash, because the dash becomes a part of you.
Yeah.
It becomes a part of you, because you would love to help your neighbor, because you would love your neighbor as you love yourself. I don't know about a lot of other people. I preached this about a couple of months ago. The reason why the dash started to dissipate, because people don't love themselves. So they don't know how to love other people. So they're just living. No goals, no drive, no ambition, just survive. You don't need money to survive. Only thing you need God, because he said, I will supply all things. We're not appreciative of the little thing. I was around a lady who's about to have first stage at all time. And I just realized how blessed people are to wake up with their right frame of mind. See, them little things count, but we take it for granted. And we just live life to live life. No, we should live life to glorify and thank God for those little things. That's more important than any money.
Now, it's interesting you said the little things, because I went to a family reunion this past weekend down in North Carolina.
Yeah, I saw that.
Had a wonderful time. Lord have mercy. My brother said, you know, that's the first time he's been to the family reunion. We did them twice. This is the second time we've done it. The first time, there were about 300 people there. We didn't have that many this time. But he said, but you know what was interesting to me? He said, when you come into the lobby of the hotel, everybody's your cousin. Going to the room where we're eating, everybody's your cousin. We go into this room where we were doing karaoke and stuff like that. Everybody's your cousin. He said, I felt like I was someplace special, that this was all me. And I'm like, really? He said, man, I had the best time I've ever had in my life, just being around people who I love and who love me for no apparent reason.
You know, and that's a wonderful thing. You know, I was listening to your introduction, and that is true. Some family can be detrimental, dangerous. You know, overall, we need each other.
Yeah.
You know, and I like my son. I love my son, because he always put that in my mind. Pops, fam first, family first. And you know what? In a time which we're living in, where family is splitting because of nonsense. It is really, they're allowing the enemy to get in and separate. But if family was to unite, you can see the power.
Yeah.
I mean, it is real power. It's nothing I'm just saying on your broadcast for people to hear. And if anybody knows me, and I know a lot of people watching your broadcast right now, and they know I'm going to speak the way I feel. Family, you can feel power when the family comes together. I mean, you feel so good. And I love it when they come together.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. I'm with you. I'm with you 100%. You know, we had we honored some of the ancestors and some of those who had gone on before us. I'm looking for my little thing. Let me see if I can find this. This was an amazing. My cousin came up with this idea. We had these little lights, and if I find it, I'll show it to you. These little lights. Pull a stem out, they glow green. They glow green. My family is a green family. We are greens.
All right.
My great-grandfather, Reverend Lot Green.
Go ahead now.
Reverend Lot Green married Cora Jones down in North Carolina. Now, Green, they had 14 or 17 kids, something like that. You know, so they blew up all over the place. Well, we honored them and we held up these little green lights, you know, and saying that these are the lights of those who came before us, who didn't think it robbery to sacrifice themselves for a family that they never met. They never knew us. They never will see us, but They prayed for us. And we came from, and I say this all the time, I said, I came from a praying family. Because I know my grandfather had to be on his knees praying for us. Because he knew he was a bunch of nuts in this family, but I got to pray for him. And so, you know, if you don't know that about your family, if you don't know some things about your family, then you really don't know where you come from. That dash, right? The dash didn't start when you began your life at that beginning number, that DOB, date of birth. It began a long time ago. You know, in the book of Deuteronomy, you know, Moses is talking to the people, and he said that it is the Lord that gives you the power to get wealth, that he may establish the covenant that he made with your ancestors, even as it is this day. In other words, he's not doing this for you. He's doing this for some folks he made a promise to 1,000 years ago. You just happen to be in the overflow. You getting the tidal wave of a blessing that he's been sending for decades, for centuries. Now you get the overflow. And to abuse that, for me, is sacrilege.
You know,
that means you've discarded all of those things that your family, you know, did, what they went through, what they sacrificed in order that you would be here. You're giving all of that up. Reverend John, that's just not the way it ought to be.
You know, it's not. And I can tell people real quick, I'm doing research now on my family. Well, I know one thing. My grandmother, look, she was in the polo grounds, colonial projects before it was a polo ground.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I got pictures, I got cars, I got the original cars of the whole Brooklyn baseball team. Before it was a Brooklyn Dodgers, they went to Brooklyn. They played in the polo ground.
Right.
I got cards of the whole team, individual. And
you say you got pictures of the neighborhood?
Yeah.
You got to show them to me, bro, because guess what? When I was born right there on 8th Avenue.
I was born in building 14.
Oh, see, no, the project weren't there then. Projects weren't there.
Colonial project, not the polo ground.
Okay, colonial project.
It wasn't what they call it now. It was colonial back then. Gotcha. I got some colonial people in here watching right now. My grandmother was right there in building 12. And then I had people at 36 and ball player, Red Alert. We used to be back in the back part of the building.
Okay.
So I grew up there. But when my mother was born, it wasn't no such thing as the polo ground. It was just colonial projects, you know, and my grandmother was a praying woman. She was a praying woman. And I mean, different from people in the church today. You know, she was in a AME church right there on 7th Avenue. And they changed their pastors periodically.
Right.
And one day she came home. I said, Grandma, you all right? She said, I'm just praying for my church. See, they never talked negative about their church. They knew how to pray. I was her only grandson. She prayed. Because she knew which way I was heading. Used to tell me stay away from certain people. Never knew what I was doing, but she knew what I was doing.
Mm.
She would just say, stop doing what you're doing. And then when I came home, she went with me everywhere I preached.
Mm.
And she was giving me the history of family from my mother's side. Now, my father left me a bunch of land in South Carolina.
Mm.
But I don't know too much about that side of the family.
What part of South Carolina?
Lancaster.
Lancaster.
Yeah.
I know Lancaster.
Mm-hmm.
That's
And
interesting.
yes, I know a few of the family because I was forced to go when I was a kid every summer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, growing up in the city, you ain't want to leave the city to go to South Carolina. They had the outhouses and things like that. I wasn't accustomed to that. I was born and raised in Harlem Hospital, raised up in the city all my life. And when I went down there, I met a whole bunch of family. And like you said, everybody was cousins. Everybody seemed like that whole town is cousins.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I say, you know what? I'm going to make it my point to get back down there because I want to know the history of that side also. I need to know where I came from.
Yeah, and see, and that's interesting because the part of the family, this is my father's side of the family that we had the reunion at. So my dad said to us when we were kids, he said, I don't know anyone in my father's family at all. He never talked about his family.
Mm.
In fact, my grandfather changed his name.
Wow.
So technically, I'm not even a Russell. I'm a Fox.
Wow.
We don't know anyone in his family. I started doing some research, haven't been able to discover much. But my dad said something early on. He said, you're going to know your father's family. And he made it a point. So this was great because when we go around, we know them, right? I know who they are. And when we were down there, we were talking about, how these connections came about. And we talked about the way in which, the families kind of spread out. And the interesting thing is that my grandmother only had 3 children.
Mm.
Now, she had a brother that had 17, sister that had like 14, another had like 12, another 10. So she had the least amount of them. And only 4, 5, 6, 7 grandchildren. 8 grandchildren. Well, 2 of them are deceased. My oldest brother and my cousin Reggie. We had 100% of my grandparents' offsprings at the reunion this year.
Oh man, that's a blessing.
Isn't that something?
That's a blessing. That's a blessing. It's better than having 0.
Absolutely.
And look, I could honestly say this. I only know one person from my father's side.
Mm.
And my aunt, she's still alive. She still lives down. That's why I'm going to try to pick her head. Families have a lot of secrets.
Yes, sir.
Family have a lot of
skeletons in the closet.
Yes, and let me tell you something. From my mother's side, I know nothing of my grandfather's family except my grandfather. From my father's side, once you get to my grandmother, I don't know nothing of nobody else except his immediate siblings.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. So I couldn't even, if you ask me how to connect the dots, I couldn't tell you. And truth of the matter is, even to this day, I don't even know if I have any more siblings out there.
Mm.
I heard I might have one, but nobody knows who they are.
Mm.
I know my sister gonna kill me right now because she said he asked. He said, yes, I said that. But the truth is, nobody knows. There's so many secrets in the family, and skeletons, and instead of they putting it out there and letting family know who they are, where they came from, because somebody prayed for them.
That's right.
And right now, I'm trying to find out everything I could. I'm even thinking about going down to Georgia. They said in Georgia, it's a place down there. You give them your family DNA and they can run a whole test and everything.
Yeah, ancestry.com does it too. And there's some others. I was actually thinking about reaching out to Lewis Gates. You know Lewis Gates' story.
Yeah.
And said, listen, why don't you do my family, man? We got an interesting past. We don't know who we are. You know, particularly my paternal grandfather. You know, why did he change his name? Who was he? Where did he come from? My cousin was telling me that he remembers seeing him as a child, and he had real long hair, long wavy hair, like Indian, like he was Indian. And I said, well, you know, his name was Fox, so it could have been he may have been of Indian descent. And then my uncle, and by the way, all of my upline dead. I don't have an uncle or aunt left. I don't have any. So there's no one to ask. So whatever we get, we're piecing things together because all of our uncles and aunts are gone in my family.
I only got one aunt left.
And you should pick it up. Matter of fact, what I did with one of my cousins, I got to find this video. Me and one of my other cousins, we went over to her house, and she knew everything about my paternal family. I took my VCR back in the day, put it on her, and just said, "Tell us, talk to us." And she did talk about 2 hours. And I got that videotape. Now I got to take it and digitize it so I can send it to all my family.
That would be good.
Yeah, you know.
My great grandmother, I remember her from my mother's side. She was the only one that knew how to make a caramel cake from scratch. Never taught nobody how to do it. I mean, literally a caramel cake from scratch. But when she passed, nobody knew the day she was born. Because when she passed, she was 100+ years old.
Wow.
And nobody knew the day she was born. We knew she was born. She was taken from her mother as a child. And that's all we knew. Now, she told my aunts and my grandmother, but they didn't, at that time, they didn't talk too much about it.
Right. They didn't share it, right? Because they see, and that's what my dad, right? When my grandfather died, I said, "Daddy, you know, how did you notice?" He said, "Yeah, we knew that." I said, "Well, you didn't tell us." He said, "Yeah, well, you know, he never talked about his family." I said, "Well, you know, we asking questions." He said, "Listen, you didn't ask your parents any questions back when I was growing up. You know, my father was born in 1928. You ask your parents nothing. Sit over there, don't you open your mouth." Now, on my mother's side, I do have my grandfather's Bible. And all the names of all of the children are in that Bible. And you know, that's how they determine birth dates, was by the Bible. And then by census. So they go to the census, take a census, and they get all the names of all the kids and so on and so forth. But you really didn't know the year unless somebody told you, because it was just determined. They look at the child and say, "Well, you look like you're about 2 years old." So they put the year in there, like 1889, 1880, you know, things like that. Because remember that up until 1865, we were just chattel. We weren't people. So they didn't keep records of our birth, our death, that, you know, nothing. We don't know. We virtually know nothing about who we were, where we came from. And that's why we got to be careful, because I said to my family the other day, I said, it's really important that we know each other, because we may be fiending on each other and come find out it's your cousin.
You know, actually, I had to counsel somebody for that. And to this day, he said, "I won't date no more black women." Look,
they ain't gonna put them all in the same bucket.
Look, he went to a different state, fell in love with somebody, come to find out that was his cousin.
Wow.
Not just a cousin, a distant cousin. That was his second cousin.
Wow.
No, and his uncle told him. And to this day, that messed him up mentally.
Oh, yeah.
And see, that's what secrets, skeletons can do to a person.
Yeah.
It can mess you up mentally.
That's right.
You know, I'm a firm believer. I tell my son, I said, the reason why you know everything about me, because I have nothing to hide. I said, I'm an open book. I really don't care, to the point of what people want to try to classify me as, or put me as. I've been in the pit, so you can't put me in the pit no more. So the only thing I can do is tell you where I was at and where I'm at now. You know, or he knows my whole family that I know. I do that to all my kids. All 5 of my children know their family. Well, as far as I know. You know, they have to know it's important.
Yeah, no more secrets. No more secrets. You know, we probably need to collectively write a book and our culture, no more secrets. No more secrets. Tell the truth. Talk about the incest. Talk about the abuse that took place. You know, talk about that, because one of the things that we were looking at in our family is that our great grandparents were one was white, mulatto, you know, and a large part of the family who were mulatto moved away to California because they could pass for white, and they did. So that part of the family we don't even know, and we may not ever know unless the DNA shows it, because they did not want to be. And I get it. I mean, I get it. If you could have a life, a real life in this country, as opposed to one of subjection, segregation, nullification, and discrimination, and you could have a better life, you know, some people would choose to do that. So I'm not faulting them. But don't ever forget where you come from.
You know, some people feel embarrassed for the wrong thing.
Yeah.
If you was raped, what can you do about it?
Right.
Tell a story to help somebody else.
Absolutely.
Davis ain't no black man's last name.
Right.
It came from a white man. From what I hear, my grandmother was with a white man. Or I don't know how the situation went about, but tell the story. I always tell people, I tell my story before somebody else can tell it.
Absolutely.
Because they're going to tell it wrong.
Right.
This way you heard it from me. That's what I firmly believe. The good, the bad, and the ugly.
That's good. That's good.
I'd rather tell my story, because ain't nobody can tell my story but me.
That's right. That's
and
right.
When I tell it, I know people watching, so they know what I'm telling the truth.
John, that is so on point, that you tell your story because only you can tell it. And when you tell the truth, the Bible says the truth shall make you free. You may not like it. You may not like hearing it. You may not even like what happened, but the truth shall set you free. You know, in this, we have this thing, and you know about this, right? What is it called? The teaching. Come on, guys, help me out. The teaching of Black history in schools. Critical race theory. Critical race theory. In Florida, the governor outlawed teaching critical race theory. He's outlawed teaching Black history. So essentially, he's outlawed teaching history, because it's not Black history, it's history. It's what happened. And whether you are a part of the problem or you're acting as a part of the solution, the history is the history that it is. You can't change it. So you may as well let it come out, because then you can change it. You can't change what you don't know. And so don't say that it didn't happen, because it makes people feel bad to find out that that their ancestors were animalistic. But hey, that's what it is. It is what it is. You know, I had people in my family that they were predators. They raped children. I know that. Right? My parents didn't want to, my mom had already died, but my dad, they didn't want to talk about that, but eventually it comes out anyway. And these are people that I love, but it is what it is. But if you talk about it, if you get it out there, now you can begin the healing process. We heal once we get the truth that comes out. Now we can begin a real healing process, and the scab, when it falls off, the body begins to reproduce itself. And eventually you won't even know that you had a scar.
That's a funny thing. You can never erase Black history, because if you ever try that, then history itself is gone.
Yes.
I mean, you're going all the way back to the Bible. I did read it. I see about Samaritan and all them Black villages. So you can never erase Black history. But the problem is we keep allowing things to happen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was telling somebody today, I said, it wasn't white people that got us on a boat to come here.
Mm-hmm.
They entice other black people to get black people to get on the boat. And because of that, that syndrome still carry where we don't trust each other.
Right. Right.
You know, but the truth of the matter is you can't get rid of black history because that's the foundation of history. Going back to Egypt, people of color always exist.
Mm-hmm.
And you cannot stop it. I don't care who you are. You know, I was hearing a man talk about we was cursed through Ham. I said, show me that. I said, show me that and get the right interpretation. After we had a quick half an hour study on it, he wanted to apologize. But I'm saying to myself, look at the damage you caused.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Of years of that contamination. You know, it's funny because I told my wife, I never watched the movie Roots. I couldn't watch it.
Mm.
Couldn't watch Color Purple. Certain things I can't watch because I know what we went through. I'm a 60 baby. I know what we went through firsthand. So certain things I read about it, but I don't want to watch it because it do kick up feelings.
Yeah, yeah.
It don't have me hate white, Spanish, black. No, I don't hate nobody. But I choose not to watch it because society is not dealing with it.
Mm.
This should have been eradicated years ago. We came a long way just to go back. Because that governor, Ron DeSantis, wants to bring us back. I tell people with Martin Luther King, you know you're a preacher. A lot of preachers didn't support him.
Absolutely.
But guess what? His message was still loud and clear. They'll support him now that he's gone.
Absolutely.
Some of the things we won't see until we transition.
Right, right, right. You know, I was a part of the organizations called the National Black Evangelical Association.
Mm.
National Black Evangelical Association. I went to a meeting that they had in Memphis, Tennessee. They've been around a long time. Their 50th anniversary. They apologized to Dr. King and all his followers.
Wow.
They did not follow him, nor did they agree with him during his time when he was on this planet doing his work. And they said, we apologize. 50 years after the fact.
50 years.
50 years. National Black Evangelical Association. I was pleased because I did not know that they had not, supported. But then again, a whole lot of people, like you just said, did not support because they said, just wait, let time take care of this. And Dr. King said, time is neutral. And the antagonists have made a better use of time than we have. So we've got to keep moving. We got to keep struggling. We got to keep fighting. And I appreciate that analogy because Dr. King is one of the persons I admire probably most because of his determination, commitment, and because of his non-compromising relationship with the Lord and his commitment to doing it, even if it cost him his life.
We on Dr. King, I'm gonna bring it to reality. You have a doctor's degree. Mm-hmm. Look where God is about to elevate you now. Secular. You have the academic achievement. You got your dedication, talk show. Look at what you achieved. You think everybody's happy? You think every Black preacher's happy? You think every Black preacher wish you well? Now, I know I got a whole bunch of people probably commenting on this right now. But you think they do? No, they don't. And guess what? It's not for you to worry about. I tell people they're haters. That's not for me to worry about. That's too much time worrying about you. I use that to motivate me. Because in my mind, You know, I like that Dow commercial, never let them see you sweat.
Yeah.
I would never let you see me fall. Mm. So I'm going to do what I gotta do, trusting God. I can do all things, knowing whatever he give me a vision, I'm going to do it. Like you said, dedication, determination. These are things we have to, as people of God, have to keep. And you know, it's funny because Hosea 4:6 says, people perish for lack of knowledge.
Yeah.
And that's what we're seeing right now. We know how to put the shout on, the speaking tongues and all of that. But spiritually, we're perishing. Because how many of us read his word? I challenge my children. I say, you know what? There's 52 Sundays in a year. Can somebody quote me 52 scriptures right now? Because every time I take a text, I read a scripture. Can you quote 52 scriptures? Then some might quote it. I say, okay, in a year, you got afternoon services. Let's say 20. That's 72. Can you quote 72 scriptures? Or did you just hear the word and let it go in? It was good and go. David said, that word have I hidden down. You got to get the word in you because that brings about transformation. And then all the things that God had you to do it with, you're going to find haters become obsolete to you. And guess what? It's obsolete. I'm listening to you. I didn't want to say it, but I'm going to try my best to show up for you. I want to be there to see the first Black man. I want to see that. That's historic. That's something where we can't just, oh, I'm happy for him. No. Show me. I tell people, don't tell me you love me. Show me you love me. Love is an action word. You say you have my son on here, he'll tell you I'm hard on my people.
I know. He told me.
I'm hard because there's so many myths out there.
Yeah.
I don't want them to get caught up.
Yeah.
And there's so many people going to hate on them. That's how people get low self-esteem. They go into mental illness. But if we can teach them what people say don't matter, it's what God say, and you strive for him, you'll find more that compliment you than more that hate you. And just use that as a fuel to keep going. And you'd be surprised. That's what the scripture said, eyes have not seen, nor ears have heard, nor have it entered into the heart of man, what God have in store.
Well, brother, that's an encouraging word for me. I wasn't expecting that, but I take it. I'm like Richard Pryor. I take what is given unto me. So thank you, man. I appreciate that. That's really good because that was, it's interesting that you should say that because, when I was called into ministry, I didn't want to do it. Like most of us didn't want to do it. Right? And the main reason that I want to do it is because I said, I'm going to wind up getting killed. Because I know when I do something, I put everything into it. And I said, I'm looking at, and of course, Dr. King, before I became a real follower of the Lord, I was reading about Dr. King. It was, I remember when he died and my mother cried like a baby, she just cried. She was broken. And I remember just looking at her and saying, what was it about this man? And then I heard about things. I mean, we never went to marches or anything like that. But the impact that he was making on the lives of everyday people, not those who were at the top of the echelon, but the people who were at the ordinary life level, was making a huge difference in their life. And so when the Lord called me, I was like, no. And he called me as a child.
Wow.
And I was like, nope, literally hid under the cover. Hid under the cover. And for years ran. But the Lord, and I'll share this with all, some of you have heard me say this before, but I'm going to say it again because I think it bears it's in line with what we're talking contextually. Then we'll go to the top of our break. But when the Lord begins speaking with you and he begins calling you, the Lord will move people out of the way if it obstructs his use of you in this life. My mom died when I was 14 years old. She literally just dropped dead. Literally. 5 years later, my dad died. One of the goals I had in life as a little kid was that I was going to become an adult and buy my parents a house. Nice house, big. I just wanted to take care of them. Well, the Lord said, I don't want you to take care of them. I have another plan for you. But my plan was to buy that house and take care of my parents. So the Lord knew my determination. Remember, he created me. He knows me inside and out. He says, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to, and I don't, I'm not saying this that he did it specifically to get to me, but you know what? It got to me. So he removed my parents from my life. So I said, okay, so I'm not achieving for them anymore. It's not about them. So what am I trying to achieve for? So of course, I started drinking and getting high and all that kind of stuff, and basically, elevating it, getting higher, doing different types of things. But the Lord said, you can do all that if you want to, but I'm still here. And I would do things, but I could never go beyond the certain. It's like there was a barrier, right? Like there was a like Jesus, told the rich man, with Lazarus. He said, "There's a gulf between you and us, and you couldn't get there if you wanted to, and he can't get to you." So it's like I got to the gulf. I was like, I can't get across that. So I had to say, well, you got to exist here. He would not let me go beyond a certain point. And I believe he's doing that with a lot of people today. I believe that a lot of people who are running from that call in their life are finding themselves at a place where they can't go any further. They can't go as down in the pit as they would want to go, because the Lord keeps pushing them up, sending angels around to minister to them and keep them afloat, because he will not let them sink. Now, that's just my perspective. That's my J. Lauren Russell's perspective. That's one of the ways I think the Lord works.
What?
Now I might be wrong, but that's where I see it.
I'm gonna tell you like this: anybody that was called, I know ran from the call. Remember, I told y'all all my grandmother was a spiritual.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
When I met my wife, she grew up in the church,
and
I took her to meet my grandmother. Now, yeah, they all hear me. That's past now. I was a drug dealer, making good money out there, getting high too.
Yep.
Running around. I took her to meet my grandmother. And my grandmother and her had a conversation. I believe this was the first time they met. She said, he's going to be a preacher. And I looked at my grandmother and my wife. Well, she's my wife now, but at the time she was just a girl.
Right.
They agreeing to this. And I'm going like this. I'm selling drugs. I don't even go to church. And I laughed. So one day I stayed out for about 3 days. I came home, went, she was my girlfriend then, to the house. She made me some breakfast and went to the church. And I'm saying to myself, you know what? It's poison. So I jumped in my car and followed the cab to the church. It was the Gethsemane Baptist Church. And when we got to the church, the strangest thing happened. That's when God touched me. I didn't know about him, but I felt it. And I went back and I said, God, if you get me out of this trouble that I'm in, I'll serve you. I ain't say I'm going to preach. And you know what? God used what my grandmother and wife agreed to send me to prison. He had to get me away to focus on me. I tell folks, I understand now what I thought was fire that went in my cell. That's when I was really anointed by the Holy Spirit. Because he had to separate me. I was too much into the streets. That's all I knew from my father. We're going back to family secrets now. My father taught me the streets. So I got engulfed in that. God had to remove me. And when he removed me, I remember when my father got murdered. My mother said I went into Bellevue Hospital. He got murdered in prison. She said, when you went in and when you came out, you wasn't the same person that went in. Your eyes was cold, like you had no heart. Guess what? Me, when I came out of prison, my eyes was no longer cold. I had a heart. That's why I tell people prison wasn't good to me, but it was good for me. I didn't have to worry about being kidnapped again. So it was good for me. It saved me. God sent me to a place that saved my life. Physically, mentally, and spiritually. So when you say that God works in mysterious ways, that's why he said his ways are not our ways. Same incident with your mother. I want to buy my mother and father a house. That's why God gave them a house. He said, in my father's house, I'm in a mansion. It wasn't for you to do. David, you're not building the temple. I got Solomon to do that. John, I know it was your grandmother and them prayers, but now you can pray for yourself because you came out. Now you realize where I sent you wasn't bad after all. It saved you. So I didn't accept the call. But when I came home, I was in every Bible study, every Sunday school, everything that they had in church for years. I remember going to my pastor, I was called to preach. He just looked at me and smiled. And you know who he is because we was there Saturday. He just laughed at me. And look, thank be to God. And I can say this. Out of all my brothers and sisters in the ministry, I'm still standing in my church that God planted me. And we still, even through COVID, we still alive. We still making it. Did not lose one member to COVID in that church. So God has been good to me.
God be the glory.
And I look at God and I thank him every day. He's been good. Not has. He is good. And I mean, I got the history of how that church was even born. I studied that going all the way back to I don't say founder of the church, because the founder of the church is Jesus Christ. The man who God used to help build that.
Plant that church.
There you go.
You know what's interesting, and then I'm gonna go to the break so I can recognize my sponsor and advertisers and all that kind of stuff. But interesting, you mentioned that you had said to your pastor, I've been called to preach. I remember the day. I remember the day and I remember the time. I called my pastor currently. He wasn't available. So I called my spiritual mentor, man that I met in South, right? His son was one of my best friends, and he was a man of God that I had an opportunity to live with for a summer. Changed my life, literally. I called him. His son said to me, Dad is never home on Wednesday morning, but he's home today. I talked to him. I told him I was called to ministry. He said, I said, well, Dad, I said, well, Rev, you don't sound surprised. He said, call me by my nickname. It's Candy. He says, I've seen that call in your life since you were a young boy. I was wondering how long it was going to take you to respond. I was like, I'm like, what? He said, yeah. And then he began to tell me what he'd seen in me over the years. And I'm like, really? He said, yes, sir. He said, now I was in the insurance industry and I was good. I had my own office. You know, I was a manager. I stopped, I opened my own agency. I was doing really good, making drug dealer money legally. Well, think about anybody kidnapping me, right? Driving the BMW, the whole, I mean, it was good life. I was a young guy, man. And he said, I know you get a special feeling when you tell a family that they're going to be okay because their parents made, their loved one made provisions for them that will allow them to be able to maintain their lifestyle because they provided this money. He said, but I'm gonna tell you something. He said, there's a special feeling that you'll get when you tell someone that their loved one is eternally in the Lord's house. He was absolutely 100% correct. As many death claims that I had delivered checks for, there's nothing like telling a family your loved one is good. That mansion that you talked about, Reverend Davis, yeah, they got one.
That's
and
right.
It got their name on it.
That's right.
You don't have to worry about them no more. Worry about yourself. Make sure that you're right. All right, so here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go ghost for a minute. I'm gonna just go ghost for about a minute or so until we finish. You could do the same, by the way, if you want to. You can kind of disappear. I'm gonna go through these sponsors and advertisers and give other announcements and so forth. I'm gonna read the article again, put the challenge question on the table, and then what we're gonna do is gonna look at some of the comments that have been made by some of the folks who are viewing, and we're gonna bring them into our conversation. And so the question tonight, everybody, by the way, as you know, the question tonight is, in what ways have you essentially violated your ancestors by serving gods of your own creation? That's the question. So you know what it is. So let's go ahead and do this.
Don't forget to support our advertisers and our sponsors, the JLR Company and J. Lauren Russell Consulting, LLC, for all of your church financial consulting needs. Check out our website, www.JLaurenRussell That's www.JLaurenRussellConsulting.com, or simply give us a call, 718-328-8096, 718-328-8096. If you want to train your trustees, if you want to develop your property, if you need a church loan, give us a call. We'll be there to help. Matters of Faith, the book, can be purchased at my Cash App, $Matters of Faith. The cost of the book is $22.80. That's $22.80. You can send your check or money order to the JLR Company, Post Office Box 301, New York, New York 10035. That's Post Office Box 301, New York, New York 10035. Get the book. It will absolutely bless your life. You can also get it as an ebook. All you need to do is go to www.smashwords.com/view/993177. That's www.smashwords.com/books/view/993177. The book has no shipping and handling if you get it as an ebook. And also check out the Eat Okra app for all black-owned restaurants all over the nation. That's right, Eat Okra. And finally, subscribe, like, and share our Matters of Faith YouTube channel. Make sure that you subscribe, like, and share our Matters of Faith YouTube channel. Let me add just one more thing. Get your subscription to Better Mag magazine today. A 2-year subscription is only $27.50. That's www.abettermag.com. www.abettermag.com. Have you marked your calendars? On Wednesday, July 12th at 6 p.m., I will be installed as the District Governor for District 7230 of the Rotary International Club. Please, ma'am, please, sir, if you can make it, I would really appreciate seeing you there. Use the QR code that's on your screen, or just go to www.rotary7230.org. That's www.rotary7230.org. Register today. You only have a couple of days left. Please, ma'am, please, sir, if you can make it, I would appreciate it. Love to see you there. It will be from 6 to 9 p.m. at the Split Rock Golf Course. I will be installed as the District Governor for District 7230 for Rotary International. Not me, but we. I'll see you on Wednesday.
And now the article, Me and My House. That article can be found in my column, Matters of Faith, at the Bronx Chronicle, www.thebronxchronicle.com, the Yonkers Insider, www.yonkersinsider.blogspot.com, Better Mag Magazine, Black Westchester Magazine, and Pamela's Big Heart newsletter, Me and My House. Joshua 24 verses 14 and 15 from the New King James Version. Now therefore fear the Lord, serve him in sincerity and in truth, and put away the gods which your fathers served on the other side of the river and in Egypt. Serve the Lord. And if it seems evil to you to serve the Lord, choose for yourselves this day whom you will serve, whether the gods which your fathers served that were on the other side of the river, or the God of the Amorites, in whose land you dwell. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Me and my house. There is nothing like family. You don't have the luxury of choosing or selecting them. Families are God-given, even for those who are adopted by families who are not biologically their own relatives. Families can be many things to many people, sometimes good and sometimes bad. I have seen families that are at each other's throats on a daily basis, and I have seen families that stick together no matter what. And thanks to modern technology, some families get to know their biological families after the deoxyribonucleic acid DNA test confirms it. But one way or another, there is nothing like family. In the text, Joshua is addressing the children of Israel. The Bible says that he gathered all the tribes of Israel, summoning the elders, leaders, judges, and officers. All of them were descendants of Abraham, who was the son of Terah, the man who dwelt in the land on the other side of the river. That's where the Lord took Abram from and led him through the land of Canaan and multiplied his family. It was a great family legacy, but there were skeletons in the closet. Joshua addresses the descendants, telling them their history, how they had been blessed with land and possessions that the Lord gave them. He told them how the Lord had given them victory after victory, conquest after conquest, miracle after miracle, living in a land that they never labored on nor built, and eating from vineyards that they did not plant. Now they were standing on the precipice of the promised land, and Joshua tells them to put away the gods that their fathers served on the other side of the river and those they served in Egypt. Joshua is, like they are, descendants of Abraham and Terah also. His past is the same as theirs. So he personalizes his admonition and says, if it seems evil to you to serve the Lord, choose for yourselves this day whom you will serve, whether the gods which your fathers served that were on the other side of the river, or the gods of the Amorites in whose land you dwell. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Terah and Abraham's family worshipped pagan gods on the other side of the river, and some worshipped them while they were in Egypt and in the land they now dwelt. Joshua reminds them that every family has skeletons. That's why each family, further, everyone individually, must decide for themselves who they are going to serve. I can't speak for my entire family, but personally, I echo Joshua saying, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Be blessed. And now my question. In what ways have you dishonored your ancestry by following gods of your own creation? Hey, let me ask that question again. In what ways have you dishonored your ancestry by following gods of your own creation? Before I chime in, let me just say this. This really gives me a great deal of pleasure. I'm excited that this brother is with me tonight. I really am. So let me just do it this way. Let me go back for a second. I want to make sure I do it right. I introduced him earlier by reading his bio and telling you a little bit about where he comes from and what he's about today. So I don't want to take up any more time. I want to let him expound and expand and just bless us tonight. So would you welcome with me again my special guest this evening, my friend, colleague, and my brother, Reverend John Davis. All right, so now we're back with John. I'm gonna stop my share. You don't need to see that anymore. We're just here. I'm gonna put my face back up on the screen, and we will just jump right in. And my brother, thank you so much again. I just want to say thank you. Really, I'm enjoying this conversation a lot, and by the comments that are being made, I think others are too. So the question that we've asked tonight, I want to ask again to you, my brothers and my sisters. So would you just please bear with me? I want you to look on your. I want you to look and I want you to look hard and think about this question. In what ways, this is personal, have you dishonored your ancestry by following gods of your own creation? I'm gonna put that in the chat box too. So I want you to respond to that. You know, that's how I want you to become involved in this conversation. And also, as you know, you can ask other questions and you can make some statements and we'll look at those as well. But in what ways, and I don't type as well as I can talk, so in what ways have you, yes, I'm all messing up here. Have you, I failed typing, by the way, with an F, so you know, I can't do all things. I can't type it all. Let's see, have you dishonored your ancestors by following gods with a small g, by the way, the small g, gods of your own, you know, because we create gods for ourselves. We do that. That's our job. We create all kinds of gods sometimes. And John, you mentioned it. You know, in terms of you know, the money that you make, the cars that you drive, the house that you live in, you know, the jewelry that you purchase, you know, the fear that you have. If you have a fear of being kidnapped, you know that you got something that other people want.
Absolutely.
All of those things, but are they the most important things? So, all right. So, John, I want you to jump in here. Just any way you want. Just jump right in. You can pick up where you left off, or you can just jump right in and any way you want. It's up to you.
You know, I'm just going to deal with ways we disgrace our ancestors. I just told y'all how I disgraced mine. But the good thing is I go back to that bar in the middle. I can fix what I messed up. Through God's grace and his mercy. Every day I make it an effort. The people I have hurted should be less than the people I have helped. That gives me motivation. I sold drugs in Harlem. Now I'm preaching in Harlem.
Yeah.
Where we was hurting people, now we healing people. See, that dash in the middle is what's most essential in every man's life. Because I love it, because that dash in the middle could tell me where I'm going or where I'm disintegrating. So guess what? I choose what I've messed up. You know, there's a song that says clean up what you messed up. And now, through God's grace, I know how to clean it up. I didn't know at one time. I didn't know. But I always said, God, you show me. And the problem is, I delight in doing it. I love being a counselor where I can help men be men. Tell them it's not over yet. We all messed up. You're not the only one. I let them know, I don't care if you grew up in the church, you did something wrong. So guess what? Don't dwell on that. If God allowed you to wake up and see another day, you can get what you did wrong right now. What did you learn in the mix of that? You know, funny you mentioned jewelry. I had somebody ask me about my jewelry. I said, let me just tell you something. If you've been getting high for 20 years, you could have had everything I got. Because look at the money you spent getting high. I know people that could have retired using drugs.
You got that right. I mean, they call it, I mean, you got a golden arm for sure.
Yeah,
for
and
sure.
that's about how much money you spent. And they was about hundreds of thousands, millions getting high. Well, what do you think you could have had if you wasn't getting high?
Yeah. Yep. Good point. Good point. It's the priority.
There you go. I said, but the thing is, don't focus on what you did. Focus on what you're doing now. You're in the treatment. You're trying to get yourself together. They say, well, my family don't trust me. I wouldn't trust you neither. How many times you say you want to approve? I mean, because they don't get it right the first time. Nobody get it right the first time.
Exactly.
Addiction doesn't just mean drugs.
Right.
See, when you use that word addiction, people like to focus it on drugs as you disgracing your ancestors. Everybody has an addiction. Some people have a Pepsi Cola addiction.
Yep.
You know, so everybody has shopping addictions. Everybody has an addiction. But now when that controls your life, then it becomes out of hand because you're making that a God in your life. And now you're putting idols before the true and living God. As you were saying with Joshua, when he says serve God's sincerity with your whole heart, everything is secondary. You can have all of this, but you will never be able to take my God. Nothing would be able to separate me from him. Yeah, I messed up, but thank God through Jesus. Because he gave me an opportunity to clean up everything I messed up. And that's where, if we focus on that, a lot of rehab places can close. But what they want you to do is focus on Prozac and Ritalin. I don't need none of that.
Right. Do they still do what do they give you for heroin? What's that?
They give you perks now. They give you Percocets, and they give you that stuff that they don't even allow in some methadone.
Yeah, they still do that.
Yeah, they still give you that. And they give you this other thing now too. I forgot the name of it real quick. There's something else where you can get a shot for 6 months, supposed to kill the urges. But this it's still a money racket. You know, once as I was getting high, you know, I never went to a detox or a rehab. You know, I went to Jesus. I keep telling people, and I tell them this opportunity of working for 19 years in spiritual rehab places, drug program. Rehabs can get you to stop, but God can deliver you.
Yes.
Because see, I can stop for 5 years. If I go back to it, I never stop.
Right.
Why? Because
you were just on pause.
There you go. The Bible says that demon comes back 10 times worse.
Yep.
But God can deliver. I don't want to stop for 10 years and go back to it. I want to be delivered from it. Right. I never asked God to take away the drugs. Because drugs are going to be here the day I was born and the day I die. If they're plants, it's going to be drugs. They have poppy seeds. But guess what? If God removed the desire from it,
absolutely,
then you would never go back to it because you have no desire for it.
Right.
You know, and in my time, a pastor in 23 years, I done been in the places getting people out that I had no desire to even look at that. And that's what we got to ask God, to remove our desires from the streets, from women, from the things that's holding us. And God is faithful and just, and he's not like man that he should lie, neither the son of man that he should repent. God will remove the desire. So them things that we had, our desires, our gods, that held us back and disgraced our family, disgraced God, disgraced the church. Now we are able to make amends to the things we have done. Not trying to prove to people. You ain't got nothing to prove to nobody. But guess what? I got something to prove to God. I can be what God called a servant.
Yeah.
See, and that's what my focus is. I want to be a servant.
Yeah. You said something that was really powerful. Remove the desire. And my prayers for me, it was the same. Remove the desire, Lord. So I cannot be tempted by something that I have no desire for. My sister, who was an alcoholic, I prayed that the Lord remove the taste of alcohol from her. She's been alcohol free for close to 30 years. One when I teach financial planning. Watch this. This is amazing. How do you remove a desire for something that you have that's creating economic havoc in your life? And I use, and this is what I do when I'm teaching budgets, right? I ask the question, what do you think about when I say the word budget? What comes to mind? And you know what they say?
Right.
Restrictions, what I can't do, right? Controls. I said, that's true. That's true. So let's not use the word budget because it feels like it's something that you don't want to do, that you're going to try to figure a way to get around, right? Because I got a budget. So let's talk about a spending plan. How are you going to spend your money? Tell me that. So you got $1,000. Tell me how you're going to spend your money. You're going to pay your rent, or you pay your mortgage. You're going to pay your electric bill. You're going to tell me how you're going to spend, how you're going to spend your money. Lay it out. How much money you're going to save? Lay it out. Now, if I come in and show you a pair of shoes that you like, but you said, this is how I'm going to spend my money over here. The shoes are not really a temptation for you because that's not the way I said I want to spend my money. However, if you decide to do that, then you have to figure out where you're going to take it from on the other side where you said you were going to put it. So if you do that, that's your decision. Now, you can live with your decision, it's fine. But if you can't live with that decision, then you can't do the shoes. So remove the desire by creating a plan. God removes desires from us by having a plan. He says, I have plans for you to prosper and not fail.
That's right.
So once you understand God's plan in your life, you'll understand that there's no room in your life for those kinds of temptations. Why? Because they are created by you. You created the temptation. God didn't put that in your life. That's you. That's why the question is very personal, right? It's answered by following gods of your own creation. It had nothing to do with, the Lord has never done anything like that to you. The Lord can't be tempted. So, by the way, Melanie said something interesting. She said, anything that you worship becomes your God. I guess in the past, I worshiped things and possibly people. I'm no longer attached to money in that way or things. I love my husband and children more than most, but not more than God. I like that.
You know, that was very profound. And the truth is, I know it took her a while to get there because one of the problems is, I'm using my generation.
Mm-hmm.
We spoiled the millennials.
Mm.
I'm going to say it was our fault because we said we're not going to let them go through what we went through.
Right, right.
We wanted to give them the best without them earning it.
Mm.
And because we start putting them on a pedestal, they became our gods.
Mm.
So now the millenniums want, but now the generation that comes after them are looking at them and saying, you know what, we're earning what we're doing by this computer age now. So we created that by making our children our gods.
Mm.
I looked at what's going on out in this world now. We used to say, oh, we watching a child curse somebody out. Oh, they so cute. No, that's not cute. Ain't no 5-year-old need to be using some word in his mouth that's filthy like that. But you think that's cute? Then we have parents want to dress like they kids. I tell my sons all the time, I'm your father, I'm not your friend. You not treat me like you treat your friend. See, but that's the problem, what we create. And guess what? Being that babies having babies that never knew God.
Mm. Mm.
Now we having 13-year-olds going to school with guns. Because now that's their gods. Video games, they gods. I had this conversation with a young man. He's about 31 now. And he said, you know what? The streets is starting to scare me.
Mm.
He said, I have a young son. And the way these kids that's grabbing guns now is about his age. What I look like trying to hurt my own son. Mm. And I'm looking at it, but this young man know God. Look at the ones that don't know him. And they're raising babies. They're coming up angry. And we should be stepping out being mentors now. Where's the mentorship? Our communities, when I was growing up, we had Reality House, Intercession. We had a whole bunch of places we can go. They ain't got no place to go no more.
And the church has closed its doors.
Right. Look, I'm going to say it, I get preachers mad because I always tell people, if the streets couldn't kill me, ain't nobody words can kill me. The church have closed their doors and act like this problem don't exist. It does exist in our communities. I have buried more people in the community than people out of the community, young people. Because the guards is the 9mm they carry. They feel that's going to keep them safe. I come to tell somebody, that's why I love that scripture. He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High. I know where I'm at right now. Ain't nothing can touch me. Ask that to my children. I know for me in this house, we're going to serve the Lord. I taught my children, I planted the seed. And I tell people, I taught my kids, don't let nobody put their estimation on you. Because you're a PK kid, they're going to try to put you at a certain place. Be who you are. I said, I taught you, and the Bible said, train up a child in the way he should go. He has to go get his testimony. She has to go get it. My daughters have to get their testimony. They can't live off of my testimony. So when they depart, they'll come back. My kids is back in the church now. You know, and guess what? The thing is, you have to plant that seed. You have to plant the seed. The seed got to die before it can grow. And we have to start planting a seed to this younger generation. And I'll say that preachers need to get out the pulpit and get in their community. You know, I remember when my son got his church. And I went over there. Before I even went into church, I took him around the community. I said, you need to know this community. Not the building. You need to know the community. Because these are the ones that are going to either be in your church, you're going to have to go out there and help, you're going to have to stand out there and talk to. It's your community. And then again, people don't realize, and pastors, please hear me, who you think watch your church when we home? That same community, keep an eye on your church. Make sure it's safe. So what we need to do is start pouring back in our community. Because guess what? Our communities is hurt. They are hurting bad. And they're hurting from leadership. They're hurting because, first of all, they got an empty hole because they don't know God. What filled my void when my father passed was God. Nothing can fill that void but God. And until we start letting them know that, because when they come to all these funerals, they're not listening to the word, they hurt. You have to catch them and go on there. If God is with me, and the last time I checked, greater is he that's in me. I shouldn't fear going in my community. I shouldn't fear going into that building where they got shootings at, or what, a couple of years ago, there was a building right off the Grand Concourse, 169th. They were beating seniors up, them young people. Where we was at? We should have been over there. News like that, I heard somebody tell me, well, where they kids was at. It ain't about where they kids was at. We should have been over there, because that could have been any one of us.
You know, it's interesting because a lot of times you'll talk to someone and they may say something like this. Well, where were they at? No, meaning the people who been sort of designated to oversee it, elected officials, police, all of that. Where were they? It's like, but where were you? You know, they are going to do what they've been elected and or paid to do. What we do is represent a living God who can change anybody.
There you go.
So if you're not there, you don't have the right to point a finger. You don't have that right, because the only one who can point a finger is the one who is directing your path. God is the only one who can point a finger. And if you're not there leading the charge, because the only thing that will change the hearts of people is God. Programs won't do it. As you said, programs may stop me from using drugs. But if my mind is not transformed, I may be off of it for 5 years, but go back because my mind has not been transformed. I don't have a relationship with the Lord. I may have an intellectual relationship, but not the one that you had when you were in that cell when you thought it was on fire. Because then, you know, I heard a preacher say once before, when my cousin was installed as pastor in Cincinnati, Ohio, he said, if you catch fire for the Lord, people will come just to watch you burn.
I like that. I like that.
So if you catch fire for him, then that means that you won't have a problem going out in the world and being in a place that others dare not tread. And I say this to say this, right? This, and I thank you for saying you're going to try to be at this installation. You know, predominantly, there are not a whole lot of people of color in the Rotary Club. Has never been. That is diverse, but it's not always diversified with us. When I go there and I speak, I had to go to a meeting tonight. I was called this morning, and one of the clubs asked me if I could come by this evening. I said, well, I got to do my show tonight. He said, but if you can come early just to show your face, that would be great. I said, I'll do it. Got there. Know what he asked me to do? The invocation. Now, my invocations call on the Lord in a way that you're going to have to pay attention. So when I got through praying, that's all I did. That's all I need to do.
That's right.
Call the name of the Lord. And I've learned because of my chaplaincy that I can call on the name of the Lord, never mention Jesus, but he's all up in there. Because they see him in me. They say, Reverend Dr. Russell. So yes, you can call me Lauren if you want. Reverend Lauren is fine. But they're calling me that. So that means that they have to recognize, you know how we say in the street, you better recognize.
Right.
They got to recognize. And that's the point, right? You can go into places that the timid-hearted won't go because they're not comfortable sharing their faith with the world. But isn't that what Jesus told us to do?
That's what he said.
Go. So I got an email, a text, was it Friday? And they said, I saw you on television. This is a friend who's a judge. She said, I saw you on television with the district attorney and the borough president for the rally that they had against gun violence. Because we had 25 shootings in the Bronx from Thursday through the 4th of July.
Yes, we did.
2 deaths, right? And 25 shootings in the Bronx. Forget the rest of the cities in the Bronx. So they reached out to me the day before, that was Wednesday, and said, can you come? I had something else on my calendar. But you know what the Lord did? He moved it. Because that was important for me. Why? Because the Lord has to be present in that. And now when you make yourself available, the Lord makes himself available so that you can be recognized as a child of the King. You see, you don't have to hide yourself behind 4 walls of a church. You got to go outside and do it differently. You know, when we talk about, in this article, I talk about me and my house. Well, if me and my house are going to do that, then me and my house has got to be committed enough to stand up in the face of opposition and say, no, we're going to stand for God. We're going to stand for the Lord. We're going to promote the name of Jesus no matter what. Even if it costs us something, we're going to do it. Me and my house. Me and my house. Is it always convenient? Absolutely not. Absolutely. In fact, it's probably the most inconvenient thing that you can do. But it's the most impacting thing that you can do. And see, I know that you know that because that's how you live your life. That's not something that you read in a book. It's not something that you saw on television. It's not something that you heard somebody else talk about. It's what you do every day of your life. And people around you recognize that they know it. And as you talked about earlier when you were talking about me, yeah, people don't like it because it steps on some toes. And it calls them to accountability. And people don't like to be called to accountability. People don't like to be told that you need to be more serious about your faith. They don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear that. They want to be in the pulpit preaching so people jump and shout. Not transforming people by the renewing of their minds. That's not what they're interested in doing. They're not giving them a sermon that they have to literally go back and think about, and they can't get it out of their minds. It's like just there, we gotta, man, why can't I get this out of my mind? Because the seeds are planted and it's starting to blow. It's starting to grow. That's why. They don't want to hear that stuff. They'd rather be, blissfully ignorant.
You know what? They got so accustomed to preaching the light instead of going into the dark world. The Lord put something on my heart. And I kept procrastinating. It wasn't God to start this war ministry because I've been on both sides. It's a war that's going on right now. And this war is so intensified right now. And I'm asking God, well, how I'm gonna do this? I'm questioning God. And he said, and then I asked him, I said, why war? He said, because you're willing to attack real issues. But the thing is, I needed some young people from the streets that's going to be questioning preachers in the church. And the reason why, because we need to get our youth back in church. That's ministry. Why they don't want to go back in the building? Why they never been in the building? Why they would prefer to sit out on the corner smoking blunts and grabbing 9mm instead of being in the church. So they can get an education. If you ain't got money to go to school, guess what? You don't need to be out on them streets. Why the church ain't there for them? One of the questions a young man asked me, he said, Pastor, I live right there on 183rd and T-Bar. He said, I know about 9-10 churches in my area and don't know not one pastor. And that bothered me. We just going to be in the buildings? And God showed me a way how to get to these young people. I buried so many people, and I've seen so many young people get killed in that area. So God gave me something now where we're going to deal with this right now. This ain't popular to preachers. They don't even know how to talk to these young guys. I thank God, all my kids I have a relationship with, they tell me what go on. I know how to speak their language. They all call me uncle or pop, so I can relate to them. But guess what? I'm not the only one in that branch. Other people have to get out there. And that's where I'm asking God, show me how to really launch this ministry. Because guess what? This hurts watching young kids getting shot down in the street. It's a ministry out there that can help them. Everybody don't need a mega church, but everybody need a caring heart, a loving heart, a heart that you don't fear man, but you trust God. And guess what? These young people, I'm gonna tell you something. I've learned this. They will listen to you if you talk to them. They don't want to hear you if you talk at them.
Right, right.
If you talk to them, don't you know they will listen? And that's all we are, seed planters. I tell a young man across the street from my church, I said, look, brother, I ain't gonna tell you nothing about selling drugs. You know that. Either I'm gonna bury you, your family gonna visit you in prison, or you gonna get out of it. I said, but I can't judge you because I got a sign in my door in the church that always keep me focused. It says pastors under construction. And I use that because I use the analogy of a house. I'm building a flight of stairs every day. I'm under construction every day. I want to do things better today than I did yesterday. And guess what? If we can get these young kids got brilliant mind. You know, a drug dealer got a good mind.
Oh man.
If he used that mind and buy it and use it good, he can buy a house, fix her up or fix it up, flip it, and the way the house market is at now, they can get double their money much quicker than what you would get outside in the street.
Absolutely. And you don't have to watch your back.
There you go. So it's about talking with the youth. But us pastors and preachers need to get out the pulpit and talk with them. And now you got more young ladies shooting than men.
That's right. Dressed up, same garb. You don't even know. You think it's a guy's girl.
Yeah, and then we sitting there. Well, you know, the Muslims this. I told a young man, I said, let me tell you something. Last time I checked, and since we went to Abraham, I said Abraham had 2 sons. I said, look, I thought Ishmael and Isaac, that was his 2 sons.
Yep.
I say, we all know Isaac's generation. I said, well, tell me about Ishmael's generation. I said, look, let me tell you something. Don't allow the devil to separate anything.
Yep.
I said, true Muslims believe in Jesus Christ.
That's right.
I said, so we don't have to have this debate. But what we got to do is get you off these streets. Young man doing good right now. Young man is doing great right now. And guess what? We have to do that. It's imperative that we get out of these 4 walls. I thank God for the coronavirus. Because it gets some of us in an uncomfortable position.
Yep.
You so used to preaching when a musician is playing. Oh, I know I got some people mad now. Guess what? I don't need no musician. I just need, the Bible said man should be saved by the word and by their testimony. It ain't saved by music. My testimony keep other young men. And you know, one of the mothers in my church told me this. She said, you know what, Pastor? She said, you gave me hope for my son. She said, by you telling your story. She said, you gave me hope. And in the same time, prophet came to my church. And I don't take too much of the people who prophesied over me. Pray for me. But he told me, he said, you know what? You're going to have a church full of street people. You know who's coming in my church right now?
Who's that?
Street people. People that's coming from the streets. Ain't joining from other churches coming in. Street people.
Right. Well, you're not a sheep rustler, man. Sheep rustlers, people who rustling other people's sheep, man, you know.
No, I don't know. You know what I tell folks? And I tell my members this. I said, look, I didn't save you. If you want to go somewhere else, I'll pray for you as long as you're in the church. You don't belong to me. You belong to God. If you leave here, just go with God. But we thank God they staying and they doing what they got to do. But they street people, Doc. In them days what happened prior to COVID 2019, we ain't gonna see no more. God gave us a new way where we can reach the world through social media.
That's right.
He gave us a new way to touch young people's heart in they ballpark. Young people's in social media. I don't do the TikTok stuff, but guess what? Social media. You got pastors that know how to do it. Get on there.
Yep.
We need to start, if we got to flood the airwaves of things they like TikTok, IG, all get there.
Yep.
We got time now. And guess what? If you're going to say, as for me and my house, extend that same invitation to other people.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know nothing.
That's right. That's right.
And if you say, as for me and my house, I'm going to serve him, that don't mean in the buildings no more.
I'm going to do a couple of things. I'm going to run a couple of things by you. Then we're almost out of time, by the way. So then I'm going to let you say your closing remarks, and then the Lord placed something on my heart that I want to share. But listen, when you were talking about that war ministry, I absolutely 100% agree with you. We've got to engage this war. Put on the full armor of God. Go forth with everything you've got. We've got to be serious, and we've got to be committed to saving our children and our folks. And see, when I say children, I'm not necessarily talking about people who are 16, 17, 18 years old. I'm talking about some of our old people who are dying, some of our young people, I should say, who are dying of old age, right? Because they haven't grown here. So a couple of things. Number one, you talked about, the churches like that. My family, and I shared this with them in my sermon on yesterday. We have a family jewel. You remember the song, Sister Sledge, A Family Jewel? Yeah. We got a family jewel. Here it is. My grandfather, Reverend Lott, told his granddaughter, Cora, not his wife, Cora, his granddaughter, Cora, said, you don't have to come to my church, but you're going to go to somebody's church. So it ain't about the building. And this is in my business, my theme is, it's not about the castle. It's about the kingdom.
That's right.
I don't care where you go. Just make sure you find yourself there. And then the other thing, a friend of mine talking about sheep herding, sheep rustling. Mm-hmm. My buddy, Ken Weathersby, I'll never forget this. He said he was a church planter. So he would plant a church, grow it up 300 or 400, raise somebody up to lead it, and go do something else and go do a good thing. And he did it all over the country. And they said, how do you do that? How do you raise up a church? And like in a year or two, you have, 300 or 400 people. And he looked at him and said, man, there's sinners everywhere. Go get you some. You ain't got to be going to get other people's sheep. Go get you some sinners. God sent us to the lost sheep. Go get them. Go get them. So the kingdom of God is truly at hand. Michael's saying this. It's everywhere you go. There's sinners everywhere you look. You have to reach them for Christ. Period. No ifs, ands, and buts about it. And you cannot neglect the youth because they're watching us and they're deciding, as you said, the church is irrelevant. The God that you serve does not exist for me. Therefore, I'd rather hang out on the street, sell drugs, get a Uzi, 9mm, and defend what I call a life, because I don't think I'm gonna make it to be 20 years old anyway. So I'm gonna turn it over to you, let you finish out, and then give me maybe the last minute or two, and I'll finish this out in the way the Lord has given it to me.
Look, I'm gonna say this. The way to reach a lot of our young folks, people that's on drugs, even mental, people that don't know God, that do not know the God. And 12 steps to say the God of your understanding. We know who our God is. And I want people to understand this. And I tell them that we are in a war. Regardless, if you want to turn the blind eye to it, we are in a spiritual war. Our nation, our country, our very being depend on this, right? I tell a young man, you can pick up a 9mm, but you got 9-15 shots. I said, I can pick up a 9mm too. The first 4 letters is holy. The last 5 letters is Bible. 4 and 5 make 9. I said, but my bullets never run out. I said, and guess what? As long as my gun stay clipped and I keep a clip in it, the Lord is my shepherd. I said, I always got bullets. I don't fear what man say or can do. I said, you was born and you won't die. Don't believe what people tell you, you just exist. There is a heaven and hell. I said, so guess what? The ones that's on drugs, it's a better life. The ones that's growing up, you don't want to get to my age and start living. Start doing it now. And guess what? That war will dissipate, will start diminishing, and you'll be easier on this battlefield. I said, because guess what? We are all on this battlefield. And we wrestle not against flesh and blood. I said, and you will experience something that you ain't never experienced before. That's peace. And to this day, God is using me for this world ministry to give kids peace, hope. We don't even have hope no more. It says, who that don't believe at their hope still believe at their hope. But they got hope in other gods. We need to bring it back to the God we serve. This is not about Baptist, Pentecostal, Church of God in Christ. It's not about you, Bishop. No, this is about let God arise. Let the God that we serve now manifest his light through all his children. Despite our faulties, our frailty. Because guess what? That can't limit me to where God wants to take me. I tell them, you think something big is bigger than you. How much money would it take for you to get out the street? Don't you know you ain't gonna make that? Because every time you get 100, you want 2. You get 2, you want 4. But the God we serve, you can be satisfied. Because what he gives you, the world can't take from you. So I just want people to understand that we are in a war and everybody can participate. You either gonna help or you're not. And if you don't, there's casualties in war. And all of us experience that in our family. Let's try to make the world a better place until the Lord comes back. That's all I have to say.
Well, that's enough. Enough said, for sure, for sure. Let me just do this like this. Three songs, four actually came to mind as I prepared the article and my sermon on yesterday. First was Family Affair by Sly and the Family Stone.
Yeah, it's a family
One
affair.
child grows up to be somebody who just loves to learn. Another child grows up to be somebody you just love to burn. Mom loves the both of them. You see, it's in the blood. By the way, the blood still works. Both kids are good to mom. Blood's thicker than the blood because it's a family affair. Right. Then I thought about Family Reunion by the OJs. It's so nice to see all the folks you love together sitting and talking about all the things that's been going down. It's been a long, long time since we had a chance to get together. Nobody knows the next time we see each other, maybe years and years from now, because we got to have a family reunion. A family reunion. And then I thought about Earth, Wind, and Fire. That's the way of the world. And they said, of the world, they said, that's the way of the world. Plant your flower, you're going to grow a pearl. Child is born with a heart of gold. The way of the world makes his heart so cold because that's the way of the world. And then I thought about Sister Sledge. We are family. Living life is fun, and we've just begun to get our fair share of the world's delights. High hopes we have for the future and our goals in sight. We know we don't get depressed. Here's what we call our golden rule. Have faith in you and the things you do, and you won't go wrong. That is our family jewel. Now, as I said, in my family, we have another jewel. My grandfather said, you don't have to come to my church, but you're going to go to somebody's church. That's our family jewel, to remind us of the legacy that we have and the praying family in which we are part of. And even in the secular world, everybody knows that we have families that can do many things to many people. And sometimes those things are good, and sometimes those things are bad. Families at each other's throat on a daily basis, and families that stick together no matter what. I argue that it all depends on the choice that they make and the God that they serve. Every person in every household must decide for themselves who they're going to serve. But as for me, for those of you who are concerned about family members that know not the Lord, let me encourage you not to stop praying and sharing, because every saint has a past, but every sinner has a future. Now, let me say that again, because you might want to write that down. Every saint has a past, but every sinner has a future. Joshua was a descendant of Abraham, just like all those he was leading. And that qualified him to really deliver this message. Listen to this. And if it seems evil to you to serve the Lord, choose for yourselves this day whom you will serve, whether the gods which your fathers served that were on the other side of the river, or the gods of the Amorites in whose land you dwell. The words of Joshua should be echoing near and far so that our ancestors can hear us when we say like Joshua, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Don't be ashamed of serving God. Don't be ashamed of your relationship with Jesus. Me and my house. Didn't we enjoy my guest tonight? Reverend John Davis. Me and my house was not just the title of an article, but a description of his life. You see, we were talking about this. We didn't say me and my house a lot, but no matter what you might think or how you view yourself, Reverend Davis, you are a living example of Joshua's statement, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. You know, John and I have discovered that in life, in my life, I found that it's not the attainment of things, but in giving our lives to the Lord and being an inspiration to our biological families, community, and our extended families to choose whom they are going to serve. We have to be the living example for them to see. Words alone don't get it. Don't do as I say and not as I do. People not hearing that no more. You have to be about it, not just talk about it. And that, my brother, is exactly what you do. Thank you, my friend, for being our guest tonight. Well, you're not really a guest, you know. Family.
Amen.
Families don't pay drop-ins. They just come home. So thank you for coming home to visit with us.
Thank you, man.
Now, I need you to put Matters of Faith on your calendar and plan to come back again so we can chop this up again.
Absolutely.
I want to dig deeper into your storehouse. I want to take some more out and drop it into the hearts of the people. I don't know how many people will view this tonight or in the coming weeks and months, but when they do, I want them to know that there's a storehouse that you pull from, and I want to go back there again. Is that okay with you?
That's okay with me, my brother.
Got it. You got it.
Brother too.
I appreciate that. Now, don't forget our sponsors and advertisers. The JLR Company, J. Lauren R. Consulting, LLC. Those are my companies. For all your church financial needs, call 718-328-8096. Visit our website, www.jlaurenrussellconsulting.com. You know, we do trustee training. We do evangelism training. We do church growth and development. We do spiritual workshops, financial planning from a biblical perspective, which I call biblical economics, teaching you how to use God's money, God's way, and be a blessing in your own life and the lives of those around you. And don't forget Matters of Faith, the book. I've been talking about it tonight, but this is the book. If you don't have the book, make sure that you get the book, because the book will bless your life. It's only $23 and 40 cents actually. And you know, probably going to go up because I think over the weekend they increased the cost of postage again. So it'll probably go up, but you can get it at my Cash App, $ Matters of Faith. Just send $23.40. It covers shipping and handling for now, or just get it as an ebook. If you get it as an ebook, that information is also on your on the Facebook screen, www.smashwords.com/books/view/993-177. The book there is $20. There's no shipping and no handling, and you will get it immediately. Better Mag Magazine, www.abettermag.com. Subscribe. I'm going to encourage you to do this. This is a Black-owned, Black-constructed magazine. They're now carrying my column. A 2-year subscription is only $27.50. So go to www.abettermag.com and get your 2-year subscription. I guarantee you it will be a blessing in your life. Now, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share our Matters of Faith YouTube channel. Telephone, text, email, message, any way you do it, but tell a friend to join us regularly on Monday nights for Matters of Faith, the radio show. We're always live on Matters of Faith and J. Lauren Russell's Facebook groups. When the show is over, what we're going to do tonight, we'll drop the episode on our Matters of Faith YouTube channel. You can watch that lying in your bed. Most televisions now have YouTube on the menu, so you can do it there. And that's why I ask every week that you subscribe, like, and share the Matters of Faith YouTube channel. Eventually, I'd like to go from a Facebook to a YouTube platform, but we need a critical mass of people. So please, ma'am, please, sir, subscribe, like, and share the Matters of Faith YouTube channel. Now, the Lord bless you, the Lord keep you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Now, if no one told you this today, let me be the first to say that I love you and there's absolutely nothing that you can do about it. So get used to it. God bless you all. And as I say, and a very, very, very good night to you, one and all. We love you, and we'll see you next week.